Bort? Oh, come on, Bort?
Mommy, buy me a license plate!
No, come along, Bort.
Hello and welcome to the Bort Experience. I am your host, Cody Galat, and we are on a special episode. We are on the Treehouse of Horror. It's season 2, episode 3, 16 overall. And man, I've been waiting for this episode since I started the show. The Treehouse of Horror anthology episodes are fantastic. At least the ones that I have seen, and it was great to kind of experience it again after so many years of not seeing it, a very awesome thing just because of timing. It originally aired on Fox in the United States on October 25th, 1990. I'm also recording this on October 25th, 2025, and then it also is very, fortunate because Halloween is in just a few days. So it kind of just worked out perfectly, me missing that 1 week to line up really close to Halloween. I'm also wearing this kind of more Halloween-y Simpsons shirt as well, which my wife got me, which is really great, which I have wore before, but this, it's more pertinent now. So there's kind of 3 stories within the episode. So it was directed by... Bad Dream House was directed by Wes Archer. Hungry Are the Damned was directed by Rich Moore. And then The Raven by David Silverman. The Bad Dream House was written by John Swartzwelder. Hungry Are the Damned was written by Jay Kogan, Wallace Wolodarski, and then The Raven, I like how they give credit, which, they should, Edgar Allan Poe, the original author of the story in 1845, and then also Sam Simon as well. Let's get into the summary of the episode. In a Halloween anthology episode, Bart and Lisa tell scary stories. I also like at the very beginning, we have a disclaimer from Marge pretty much saying, hey, if you don't want your kids to be scared, maybe you should turn off the television. I like how it's like poking fun at people that are like, the Simpsons are destroying the youth of America. And like the writers really leaning into that. So that was great just as a disclaimer. And I think they do that for maybe the first 3 or 4 Treehouse of Horror seasons. So the first one is Bad Dream House. Bart tells a story where the Simpsons move into a haunted house built on a Native American burial ground. After the house is told off by Marge, it chooses to destroy itself rather than live with the Simpsons. The second part of the anthology, we got Hungry Are the Damned. And Bart's other story, the Simpsons are abducted by Kane and Kodos to be taken to the planet Rigel 4 for a feast. Lisa is suspicious of the aliens' intentions, believing that the Simpsons themselves are being cooked. When her trust is misplaced, they offend the aliens and are returned to Earth. And then the very last story is The Raven. Lisa retells the poem by Edgar Allan Poe, in which Homer appears as the poem's narrator and Bart is the Raven. So my thoughts. I thought all 3 were very strong stories. I really like The Raven. We have James Earl Jones turns into like the voiceover narration of the episode, and his voice is like, chef kiss, of course he's famous from Darth Vader, Mufasa from The Lion King, and he just has this very strong and powerful voice. He was a fantastic actor, and he's missed in this world, but it was so great to hear him, and I didn't remember that he appeared this way in The Simpsons, so I think that's been one of the best guest stars that we've had so far. In the Bad Dream House, I like how the show just makes fun of its stars so much, where the house itself is so like, I can't live with the Simpsons, and just like decides to destroy itself. I think it's also based on other horror movies. I haven't seen a ton of horror movies, but I want to say like, what is it, Amityville Horror, or just that kind of like thought of like even The Shining. It kind of reminds me of hey, the house is making you go crazy to want to kill your family. I think that's a typical trope of haunted houses. Then we move over to the Hungry Are the Dead. We get the iconic green drooling aliens that appear several times throughout the series, Kane and Kodos. We also have James Earl Jones voicing one of the aliens as well. And then, like I said, the Raven, I think, was my favorite out of the three. And just, I don't know why, but like that, just James Earl Jones, like I said, I have to come back to that. Just him telling, like, I'm not usually a big poetry person, but just how he tells it makes me want to be like, hey, I'll listen to a whole book on tape or on audiobook of James Earl Jones just telling me poetry or reading Edgar Allan Poe stories. So overall, I really enjoyed this episode, and I felt like it had great things within it. And these are always kind of not necessarily scary, but I feel like it allows, and I think I mentioned this last episode or maybe the episode before, of them to kind of expand and do crazy things that normally we don't see on the show, even though we do see crazy things, but it's not like this outlandish of like people being killed, haunted things, aliens, and all this kind of stuff. So I think it's a great time for once a year, once a season, they get to kind of tell this type of story. And it was fantastic, and I can't wait until season 3's, and I'm already looking forward to it, and I have to get through all of season 2, which I'm looking forward to as well. So those are kind of my overall thoughts. Next, we'll move on to the Citizens of Springfield. We have Dan Castanella as Homer Simpson and Kodos. We have Julie Carvener as Marge Simpson, Nancy Cartwright as Bart Simpson, Yardley Smith as Lisa Simpson. We have Harry Shearer as Evil Laugh, the House, and Kang. We have James Earl Jones as Moving Man, Cirque the Preparer, I believe is how you pronounce his name, and then the Raven narrator. MVP of the episode are going to be the writers and showrunners for coming up with this idea. I feel like not necessarily one member, when these kind of anthology episodes, I don't think you can really give it to just one character since there's 3 parts, 3 distinct different stories. But yeah, just the writers and just the, the directors and just them coming up with the concept of, this idea, I think it's just fantastic and they deserve the MVP. Best jokes. So I have kind of 2, maybe even 3. I kind of mentioned one, the house deciding it can't live without the Simpsons is more like a visualization. The next one comes when Homer, the family's being abducted. They all kind of come up in that classic alien beam up type shot. When they tried this with Homer, he's eating a hamburger sandwich that he had just made off the grill, and the beam is not strong enough to pull him off the ground. So they have to shoot a second beam to lift him all the way up. And I thought that was just a really, no dialogue, just a visualization that was hilarious. The next comes from the first installment of The Haunted House. Homer calls the realtor who sold him the house, and he says, "Mr. Blott, Homer Simpson here. When you sold me this house, you forgot to mention one little thing. You didn't tell me it was built on an Indian burial ground." "Wait a second. No, you didn't." "Well, that's not my recollection." "Yeah, well, all right, goodbye." Angrily hangs up. Then Homer kind of turns to his family. "He said he mentioned it 5 or 6 times. So it's just so funny, like Homer's inability to pay attention and his kind of like, stupidity, I guess you could say. I don't like using that word necessarily, but just the way that he's used as a device to get the Simpsons into trouble. I just find it so hilarious that, he's the kind of guy that's like, "Sir, don't do that. Don't do that. You'll get hurt. You'll get hurt. And then he'll just push the button anyway. So I just love that as a joke where he gets so angry and then, he's like, "Oh, I think I was told 5 or 6 times not to buy this place." So, or told about the Indian burial ground. So I thought that was fantastic. So, all right, we're moving on pretty quick. The only other thing I would say, as I'm just kind of thinking, is, like I said, not necessarily big plot or story elements or character development, but I think just having the anthology itself is a great change of pace, and I really enjoyed it. So, and I have a special, which I've already done a couple this month, Halloween edition trivia. I think one of my favorite segments of the podcast. In the Treehouse of Horror number 4, who wrote the foreword to Burns's book, Yes, I Am a Vampire? In the Treehouse of Horror #4, who wrote the foreword of Burns's book, Yes, I Am a Vampire? You'll have to check out the full podcast to get the answer. And since you're here, I'll tell you. It is Steve Allen. All right. Overall, it was a great episode. I really enjoyed it. And just some kind of channel updates. I'm up to, I think, of this recording, 138 subscribers, almost to 140. We're also coming up on the 1-year anniversary of the channel. I started it December 4th, 2024, so we're getting really close. Almost like a little over a month away. And I'm thinking about maybe doing something special. I really, I started the channel and then didn't really post, and then I really started posting more regularly, especially after I thought I did the podcast, and then so I'm doing it a lot more. So I'm thinking about doing a giveaway, but we'll see. My goals are to hopefully hit 500 subscribers by not this upcoming, anniversary, but by my next, at my 2-year. That's kind of my goal. And just to keep kind of growing, keep having fun. I've been having a lot of fun doing the podcast. I want to start also getting into maybe some gaming, a video game kind of content. I kind of tried that before. It was tough keeping up with the gaming news, but I kind of want to get back into that. And then also just talk about some movies and television shows. But that's enough of that. And I appreciate everything. Please like and subscribe. Also comment down below. I have some great people that reach out to me, and then also just tell me their thoughts on the episode. So I really appreciate that. It really helps kind of keep me engaged and make sure I'm on the kind of the right path and everything. So I appreciate everyone. Until next time, peace out.